But this Friday today is about a walk in the lakes and about some amazing Chinese films coming to Keswick. So a bit later on, we're going to hear from Shirley and from Carol. Carol helps run the Alhambra Cinema in Keswick. If you've not been, you're missing a treat there. And it's the second Mint Chinese Film Festival taking place next weekend in Keswick. So that promises to be really interesting and what a thing to be having in Keswick, in Cumbria. So we're going to hear a bit more about that and see a little trailer for that festival as well. And before that, we're going to hear from Anna Clough, who is a Cumbrian artist from Staveley originally, now based in Manchester. And she will be talking about a lovely journey trip. Is she still there? Have we just lost her? Oh, she's still there. Hello, Anna. Sorry. A lovely, interesting art project that's just commenced with a bit of film in it as well. A walk that she did, which I'm going to let her tell you about rather than me try and explain it. But it's a really interesting concept that she's done there. So that is the plan for this morning. We'll go through till 10:30. And as ever, chat will be lively. Feel free to pop any questions. And after Anna's spoken, and also after Carol and Shirley have spoken, a chance to ask any questions as well. That is the plan. And as ever, Amy is on the buttons. So let's start off with Anna Clough from Staveley, sitting there with some nice art behind her in Manchester somewhere. Anna, really nice to have you with us. Anna came to me via Anne Waggatt-Knott, who some of you will know, who they met, I think, in Manchester at a studio, etc., etc. So it's great when connections like that are made. Anna, I'm going to hand over the airwaves to you, and Amy will get up your slides, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, let me just bear with me, sorry. Okay, cool. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and to listening to me speak. So I thought first off, I'd sort of introduce my practice and then go on to discuss this project that Tom very kindly introduced. So yeah, I'm a multimedia artist. I'm currently based in Manchester at Paradise Works, but I am originally from Cumbria. So as Tom said, I grew up in Staveley, and then I went to the Lake School, and then I went to MMU to do my degree in fine art at Manchester School of Art. I make kinetic sculptures, and I also do performance-based walks. Sight is incredibly important to my practice. I really wish to capture the language of places, as I feel you can best understand the systems that operate within those places. So this means I feel like I'm always back in Cumbria, always back in the lakes, and I find it incredibly inspirational. I feel if you were to put my practice in a sieve, you would have me on top of the fells, looking, observing, and being within them. Could you go on to the next slide, please? So I feel like I'll speak a little bit about the materiality that I like to use within my work. So a lot of it I like to use sort of found objects. I also like to use stuff like hay, soil, old bits of iron, rushes, fabric. But then in contrast to that, I like to also use really clean bits of 2x2 wood to sort of hold these objects within a system. A lot of the sculptures or structures that I make have moving elements of nature. So for example, this one that's on the slide, the light it's based off an old mine structure, but inside it, the torch shines down onto a mirror in the water and then projects a rainbow into the back of it. So I feel like it's a lot of the work is sort of understanding systems, and the structures are sort of tools or engineerings for those systems, and then the sculpture to perform. I also use a lot of traditional crafts within the work. So there's lots of woodwork, weaving and stitch. Next slide, please. So this is a piece that was in a solo show that I did last July. I don't know where that time's gone. But this is I was weaving with hay around the structure and also with willow. And then inside is plants such as like bog asphodel and cotton grass and other plants that I collected from peatlands. And also bogs. And then it's situated within a more rigid structure. And then inside of this sculpture, there's a fan that's blowing air, which is making the plants that I collected sort of flutter like that in the breeze, which I think is really interesting. Next slide, please. So with this one, it was a structure that I sited on the beach in Drigg, just down from Sellafield. So with this, the wind blows onto the fans round the top, and that pushes a piece of cloth round in sort of like how a bike would work. And then the wind would also blow these like how would you say it? Like sheets up and down. And then on the top sheet, there's pigment. And so when the pigment touches the sheet that's going round, it creates an imprint, which is sort of creating like a map of the wind on that day on that beach. Next slide, please. So to speak about what theories and texts sort of influence my work, I'm massively influenced by new materialism and alchemy. I find how objects and things sit within systems and they change their values within those systems. So like, for example, how a tree, when it's in full blossom, it holds a lot of aesthetic value. But then as soon as the tree sadly dies, it holds a lot more ecological value, but less aesthetic value. And I find that super interesting how all these objects are sort of in a state of flux. I think a lot of the work is investigating the spaces in between industry and ecology. And then within those edgeland spaces, I want to sort of speak about an awareness of sustainability for that ecology, but also for the community that occupies these places. So this piece here is a film of a water wheel which collects water from the river and then makes marks with the river. But then, of course, the marks will fade away because they're just made of water. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, so this was a walk that I did with a friend, fellow artist, Fergus Brian Lowe. I started from Scafell Snowline, where I collected water. And then Fergus started from just outside Sellafield, where he also collected water. And then we walked and then we met in the dark in the middle. But I really liked this piece because I feel like it speaks as to what water can be. So in one state, it's being used to cool nuclear power. In the other, it's being used to occupy in an ecosystem and has a much more romantic connotation. So these, then when you pair the two waters together at the end, I really enjoy how the material language of what those two waters may represent for a human community then speak to, if that makes sense. Cool. Oh, next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the project that I've just done. So this was a performance walk where I walked from Langdale, just underneath the Neolithic, that's a tongue twister, Neolithic axe mine on Pikerstickle, over Stakes Pass, down Langstraffdale, up Honister, and then round Buttermere, round Crummick Water, along Loweswater, and then down into the new proposed site of the coal mine in Whitehaven, Woodhouse Colliery. So the walk, I didn't all do it in one go. It was split into 3 different days that were done over December and early January. And then along the walk, I carried a wooden cart that had a raw clay tile in the bottom of it. And then sitting on top of the cart were stones that I'd collected from the axe mine. So as I walked, the cart would jostle, creating marks. Oh, next slide, please. So this was the map of the first day. So as you can see, I started just beneath the axe mine, went up the valley, over Stakes Pass, down Langstrathdale into Stonethwaite. Um, I think that this was definitely the trickiest day, but it was also a really beautiful day because we felt the light of the sun rise in the morning and also the light of the sun setting in the evening. Um, and I think it was just really lovely to be in the land and to have the land speaking to you as I was walking. Next slide, please. So yeah, these were all done on different days. It was not all done in one go, and it also wasn't done in consecutive days because I needed some rest after each day. So this was the walk where we started from Stonethwaite, and then we went up Honister down into Buttermere. It was really strange to go past Honister because it was nearly near Christmas time. So there was lots of people dressed up as elves and Santa, where the mines were being used as grotto that children were going to visit, and it was really nice to see how busy that was. And it was also, I also really liked going past Honister because it was unsurprisingly chucking it down. And the slate dust was mingling in with the rain, and it was creating that lovely, like greeny, grey blue colour as it was like dripping by. Next slide, please. And then this was the last day. So this was from Buttermere, round Loweswater, and then down to Whitehaven. So this, when we got to Whitehaven, I was very tired and we got hit by, well, it was sort of beginning to rain all day, but when we're walking into Whitehaven, it was incredibly windy. Opposite the site for the proposed coal mine, it was very strange. There was this set of like residential houses, and they were also all celebrating Christmas. So it was strange to see all the lights. And then when we got onto the site, there was loads of plastic rubbish, however, lots of plants like buddleia. I would like to go back to that site when it's not chucking it down with rain and really windy and to see it in the sun or in good light when it's not like dusk. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, so these are my support team that helped me. So my mum Susan, who's on the left, she helped carry the cart and bring sandwiches. And then on the right is my boyfriend Isaac. He kindly also helped carry the cart and do the filming. I feel that I would not at all have been possible without either of these two people, and I'm very, very grateful that they were able to help me, and I'm very thankful for some lovely days out with the both of them. Next slide, please. So this is what I carried. This is the cart. It's 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. It's made out of wood. It's really quite light, very minimal design for that lightness. The design itself is based off a mining cart, roughly. It's done pulley to be pulled with rope, so that when you're going up a gradient, it has that tilt. This is a good example of what I mean about really minimal designs just for the purpose of the objects, like what I was saying before within the materiality stuff. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, so these are some close-ups of the car after the walks. So as you can see, I think on the right, or I don't know if it's my right or your right, but yeah, on the right, you can see, so that was 2B1, which was in a sharp right angle, but over the course of the journey, it got worn down into almost a uniformed curve, which I thought was really nice. The land was having a conversation with this tool that I'd made. And then also you can see where the tile would sit. And that's a detachable bottom, which would mean I'd be able to get the tile out and put the tile back in again. And they were wheelbarrow wheels, which stood up to the test and didn't get any punctures, which was good. Next slide, please. So walking from a Neolithic axe mine, it got me thinking a lot about Stig of the Dump and the things that he made in his chalk pit. And I was thinking about if I was Stig, and I also think there's a lot of similarities there between Stig and his chalk pit and what we do within mines of making things and drawing things together. So I was thinking, like, if I was Stig, what would I make? What would I do with this journey? And I figured, oh, well, I'll make a tile that could go on a wall, on a floor. And then that I was thinking about Stig's tiling solutions. So then I made this banner in the style of a mining union banner. I chose the colours because I feel they remind me a lot of the fells and the landscape. And it was nice to see it on the fell because I do feel it sort of added almost like a camouflaged effect as if the cart was meant to be there. But I made the banner as sort of an explanation as to why I was doing the journey. And I think it just points to the absurdity of it as why why you would walk that far. Next slide, please. So this is a shot from the film. So here you can see the tile and you can see the stones moving on top of it. So now I'd like to show you a short rough cut because I've not had the footage for very long, so I'm going to show you a short section of the film. There is no sound at the moment. My plan for the sound to be would to have an extract of someone reading Stick of the Dump or extracts from that, as well as field recordings from the walk. So yeah, here's the film.
While we're watching it, Anna, do you want to just tell us what's going on or just reflections on how it was for you?
Yeah, I can do. So this is at the start, placing the stones into the cart. As you can see, the clay is looking very uniformed at this stage. This was in the car park outside Old Dungeon Gill. It's now putting the banner on. I really enjoyed this because it felt like a sort of ceremony for like a made up ritual. Um, yeah. This was these little dowels here. They were the only thing that kept falling out. So that was quite like on the rockier bits going up Stakes Pass. But yeah, in the car park, there were people that were asking us, like, is it a like what like talking about what I was doing with is it a like a baby's cart? And this is, oh yeah, here you go. This is how it pulls. So I feel like I became very aware of the tip of it when I was walking. Yeah. So this is down round the side of the Langdale Pikes now. Um, yeah, it was all shot by Isaac, with some of the more atmospheric shots done by me. Oh yeah, so here's going up to Stakes Pass. As you can see, I made the cart with such big wheels because of the how like on these kinds of paths the stones are quite big, so you sort of have to dodge them all. Yeah, here's it. Yeah, there we go.
Are there any more slides, Anna, or was that it? I can't remember.
There are a few more
Yeah,
slides. Yeah.
okay, let's just pull those up then. And there's so many comments in chat for you to look at in due course as well.
Oh,
So you have to look at those too. But let's just get back to the slides that Amy is brilliantly getting to.
thank you.
Some stones.
Yeah, here's some stones. Oh, I don't know if you might have to go along to it. I think it's number 17.
Just scroll through those ones again there. There we go.
Yeah, cool. Oh, sorry, back. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So these are the stones that I'd collected. So I chose these on a separate day from the axe mine at Stickle, and I chose them based on their colours and their forms and how they might slightly resemble flints. Next slide, please. So this is the tile from the first day. It's still very wet. because this was the last one that we did. Um, so there were 3 separate tiles made from 3 different days with 3 different examples of mining. I really enjoyed how when it rained, that affected the marks made, and also how different gradients affected the marks. So sharper gradients would mean more like jaggy, like cuts into the tiles. Softer gradients, you'd kind of see like, I don't know, as if you would have a paintbrush and you'd rub that along a bit of clay. So that was really interesting. I really loved the folds. I did not expect this to happen, but I'm really glad it did. It made me think a lot about tectonic plates. Also, I feel like the whole process really got me thinking about deep time and the erosion done to all the rocks around us, whether that's from nature or from industry. And I feel you can really see the passing of time within the details of the tile. Also, the sheer effort it takes to mine these rocks and how strong they are, and how strong you would have to be to carry these rocks around the fells. And doing the walk, I have never sort of assessed the ground as so much, looking at like textures and how wet or how hilly or how rocky the gradient is. Also, walking over different types of vegetation. I have a big respect for the ecology and how it is able to thrive in the hills. And also I was doing it in winter, so I was super aware of the light when it was going to get dark. And I think that I wanted to highlight the mineral diversity of Cumbria, how you go from greenstone to slate to coal. There's streams of iron nearby. I think it's amazing. But what was nice was to talk to people on the walk about the project. Um, so some people were absolutely outraged that the mine was happening, and they were like, no, this should not happen. But other people were like, well, yeah, we need the jobs. So that was interesting to hear both sides of the discussion. But the point of the piece was not to just bring awareness to what was happening, and to let the land and the communities that the piece is speaking to do the talking, if that makes sense. Next slide, please. So this is day 2 tile. So this you can see sort of some of the marks that I was speaking about there. And then next slide, please. This is day 3 tile. I feel like you can see the rain marks more on this one. Next slide, please. Here's close-ups, so you can see the rubbings going up and down from the rain and from like a lesser gradient. And you can also see more of the jabs that the stones created. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is the project obviously still isn't finished. I need to fire the tiles, which I'd like to do with an oxide made from pigment found at Florence Iron Mine. And I need to finish the film as well, which I'm excited to do. But for the final thing, I would like to have the cart with the banner in the back, projecting the film inside the cart with the tiles nearby next to it. Yeah, next slide, please. Oh yeah, so that's everything, hopefully. I realize it's bang on 10. I don't know if there's time for questions, but if
We've
anyone...
certainly got some time, got a few minutes for questions. Anna, what an original project, and what a time of year to do it. And I think I've walked Stakes Pass is part of the Cumbria Way, I think, isn't it? When
Yes,
it
it
comes
is,
down to
yeah.
Borrowdale. I've walked. It's a steep old track going up there. Blimey!
Mhm.
If you're
Yeah.
dragging that thing as well, what an amazing physical feat as much as anything else. Loads of people loving what you're doing in chat,
Oh,
Anna.
oh, I'm
Um,
just I'm just looking through it. Thank you. Wow.
Andrew asked us an interesting question. Fantastic work, Anna. Assuming you would like to, what would we need to put you in place to encourage you to live and work in Cumbria rather than Manchester?
That is a really interesting question. I think that the first thing would be, well, affordable housing would be the main thing as to why I would move back to Cumbria. I think, and also I feel more opportunities. I feel like in Manchester, I feel that there's more opportunities for me in terms of like creative jobs, not necessarily to make the work, because I feel if I was able to live in Cumbria, the work that I would make would be so much richer, so much better, um, so much more fulfilling because I'd have the resource right there, the land would be right there. But I just think that financially I'd struggle
Yeah.
to do that if that I don't know. I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
yeah. No, I'm sure, it's
Yeah.
a long debate. I just thought I'd pop it in there because it
Yeah.
popped up today. But we could talk
Yeah.
about that for many weeks and months, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kelsey, the creation of the map of the wind is inspired. Matthew says, brilliant individual art, Anna. How are you defining kinetic and why is that important to you?
So a lot of the kinetic, I would say, is if the sculpture has some sort of activation or is moving. So whether that's through light, wind, electronics, that moving is important for me because it brings into the conversation around the object, like its usability. So like say like a mug that's usable because it can hold cups of tea. So if you have a piece of or juice or whatever. So if you have a sculpture that moves, I think it talks about how objects move and what's usable and why it's important that things can use and be usable. Does that answer the question?
Who knows?
Who
Matthew, does
knows?
that answer the question? I think it,
Yes, it does,
No.
because there's so much movement in your, the video and the walking, and I love this idea of the motion, and because being in the Lake District is so much about walking and feeling and running and swimming, and I love that idea of its static beauty, but also the very motoric usability of the Lake District. So I
Mhm.
wonder whether that was important to you.
Yes, definitely. So in there's a theory that I've been looking at the moment called new materialism, and that talks about how objects have a liveliness to them, how they're constantly moving, and how there's no real boundary between any object. They just change in value. And I think that the Lake District and Cumbria is a great example of that because the rock isn't a rock, it's a scree, but it's also a mountain, but it's also a landscape. And I think to have that movement reflected back in the work is, yeah, exactly, super important.
wise man Rob, Anna says, brilliant, Anna. Love your thinking and doing. Part of the craft is in the graft. Part of the craft is in the. Rob, are you suggesting that you've done a bit of grafting in your time?
I try and avoid it now, Tom, to be honest. Not true. No, I think I don't know if you saw, Anna, the exhibition, Julie Moore exhibition at Abbott Hall.
Oh,
Uh,
with the fire stacks.
Fire Stacks, yeah.
Julie Brooks, is it Julie Brooks?
Julie Brooks, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes, Julie Brooks, and just the effort that that woman took to heave those stones and rocks. And it occurred to me that, part of the craft definitely was in the graft itself, that physical nature. And of course, you've got that physical nature. I
Mhm.
question the way you were holding that cart, though. I think in years to come, that will come back to haunt you on your left shoulder, dragging a cart behind you like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant. Well done. Well done.
thank you, thank you. A lot of it, see, like within the film, I want the film to not be sort of centered around myself and the journey that I did. I want it to be on the cart and the like the marks that the stones made. So within the film, although in the film it's just myself carrying it, I didn't want to show the like Isaac and my mum because then it would look as if it was more of a strenuous sort of
Mhm.
we're human, we've taken it up. So although a lot of it is my left shoulder, we did a lot of rotations and things and yeah, I wanted the film to focus on the cart, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no,
thank
totally.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's definitely in the graft.
All chiropractic advice to Rob Fraser,
Yeah.
please. Anna, just very briefly, what's next then? What happens next with this? Are you looking for an
Um,
exhibition space? Are you looking for somewhere to put it on or?
yes, yeah, definitely. I would love to be able to show the work in its realized state. And I feel that because the work, like I'm Cumbrian, I'm from Cumbria, the work's about Cumbria, I would love to be able to show it in Cumbria somewhere.
Great stuff. Well, I hope you get the exhibition space and opportunity that you're after.
Thank you.
Fantastic to hear your story this morning. Thank you for sharing that with us. and such beautiful originality, and the way you spoke about it as well with such authenticity. It was great to hear. So thank you so much. And do pick up with the comments in chat. You're very supportive of you.
I will do. Thank you. And yeah, thank you all for listening and for giving me such
All right,
answers.
stick around because we're also going to hear about the most interesting Chinese film exhibition, the Mint Chinese Film Festival, taking place in Keswick next weekend. So strap on. Let's hear what's going on there. We've got a couple of slides and a little bit of film. And Shirley and Carol, Carol, are you actually in the projection room at the cinema there?
I am in our projection room.
How exciting is that, everybody?
Here's my dad's favourite film, Cinema Paradiso. Dad ran the cinema for 30 years. I've been running it for 5 now. Yeah. So I'm just uploading films for the festival. It's been a total nightmare. Getting films from all over the world, paying for films all over the world. Oh, it's really hard work.
Well, I hope it's worth it. I'm sure it will be. So we'll get your slides up. And Shirley, I think you were going to kick off and tell us a bit about the origins of the festival and how you've got to get involved with it.
Sure. Shall I start now?
Yeah, here come the slides. Off you go.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Shirley, and my Chinese name is Yixiang. So I'm a film curator, currently based in London, and I come from Beijing. It's my hometown. So I was studying in Edinburgh in 2020 autumn. And the reason why Kara and I established a Chinese film festival in Cumbria, Keswick, Alhambra cinema, is because of common interest in Chinese cinema. And how we met is a long story. So there was a ICO screening event in Kendal, somewhere in the Lake District. And I went there by myself. And during the screening day, I met Carol. Carol is the only person who speaks Chinese in the meeting. And I was quite surprised, speak Chinese in the meeting. I was quite surprised. And she told me that she held a PhD degree in Edinburgh, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And I told her that I'm a film curator. I'm currently studying in Edinburgh and looking forward to do something in the near future. And she told me that she got a cinema in Keswick. And I was like, okay, let's do something. And she, the vibe between me and her is really, special. And we're all enjoying the Chinese culture, Chinese cinema. We're from the same university. And that moment is the good timing to do something. And then the idea of launching a Chinese film festival come up. And we prepared the first edition last year in February, only through 3 months. And this is our second edition, which will take place next month, February, from February the 1st to February the 4th, to celebrate the Year of Dragon. So last year was the rabbit, and this year was the dragon. This year is the dragon. And you can see in our graphic design, there's a little rabbit on top of the dragon. It means that we hope the Year of Dragon can carry out us to grow better and to grow faster. Yeah, so that's how we met and how the festival starts. And yeah, that's probably, yeah. Carol, would you like to add something else?
No, that's it. It was just whenever I see a Chinese person, I chat to them in Chinese. My career was in scientific and academic relations between China and Taiwan, and I've lived in both places. And I thought when I came back to Keswick, in one of the least ethnically diverse counties in the UK, that I'd never have anything to do with China again. And I was a bit sad about that. So when I met Yixiang, it was just amazing. It was like, wow, if you can an audience for a Chinese film festival, I've got the cinema. It was, really a match made in heaven. So it was so exciting to do it, and it was just wonderful how well it went last year. So fingers crossed it's got a future in the north.
Oh yeah, I noticed that because the Year of Dragon is very important for the Chinese, the Chinese animal features. I was born in Year of Rabbit, and that's why we use the rabbit as the key visual identifications here in the poster. So let's talk more about this year's program screenings and selections. We are very proud to deliver over 30 Chinese films. In the second edition, we have a special programs which screening lot of classic and the best contemporary Chinese cinema. For example, we invited Snow Leopard, and we also screen Green Knight, made by Han Shuai, which is a very, how to say, phenomenal art house cinema, because it's a co-production between China and South Korean, casting a very renowned Chinese actress, Fan Bingbing. However, the film is censored in China because of Fan Bingbing. Her stardom is kind of like tricky in China, and also the film is LGBTQ, so the film is entirely censored in China. And I'm thinking that it's our, how to say, it's really important for us to bring this kind of films to, you know, other cities in the UK to allow more Chinese audience to have the chance to watch it. And yesterday we just received film reviews by Eddie Harrison. He was very nice guy, and he write something about the films and publish on his website. And also noted a lot of how to say, a lot of local audience from Glasgow, because he based in Glasgow, quite interested in the film. And according to our social media feedbacks, we can tell that this film actually attracts both the UK audience and Chinese audience, and it's very strong. And we keep receiving kind of like touring exhibition required from, for example, like Cine Asia. They're talking about us if there any possibility to do the touring exhibition in London. So I'm very confident for this year's film selection because we got quite good titles. Also, apart from that, we have a very new debut feature about the family issue that happens between the young little girl and her mother who are divorced. And the film is called Yangzi Confusion. The film I watched in Beijing International Film Festival last April. At the moment, I was really attracted by the film, and the director was there, the producer was there. In my mind, I'm thinking I'm gonna to bring this film to the UK because during the pandemic, there's kind of like a short attack to the festival calendar in China. So lots of festivals postponed their schedules, and I think the European film festival did the same. So Yangtze's Confusion is kind of like film that has been influenced by the pandemic because they didn't went well to the international film circles, but didn't also went well in the domestic festival circles. And the schedules for their domestic release postponed as well. The film eventually released in China last autumn, in the art house cinema. And at the moment, I think it is really important for us to bring the films, bring it out to find more audience, to reach more audience. Probably we can find like a distributor for the films to help them to grow. And the filmmaker herself is very sweet. She even recorded a Q&A video for us. So how to say, I really want to promote the films better, but sorry for my English. I try my best. What else in the film selection? Apart from the special screenings, Carl will add more information about the themes. Would you like to talk more about your recommendations, your favorite themes?
Yes. Well, when the big worry I have is how accessible a Chinese film festival is for local audiences, for people don't know about China. So obviously, Yi Xiang and all the volunteers that she has brought together from her networks are working on Chinese social media and promoting it. And last year we got 150 Chinese people, mostly students at universities in the UK, coming for it, buying passes. So that's sort of her domain. Mine is to try and whip up a local audience. And I think it is difficult because it's so inaccessible. People think they don't know anything about China. Obviously, all the films are subtitled. But so I'm doing my best. And one of those things is this year we're showing two what we call the retrospective strands. It's Millennium Mambo and EE. They're both Taiwan films. So I love Taiwan. That's where I've spent most time. So those are films from actually 2000 or 2001, but they're certainly EE is in the top 10 or 15 list of great films of all time or of the 20th century in many international critics lists of best films. So EE and Millennium Mambo are sort of the accessible films, and they're opening the festival and closing it. Green Knight, yeah, I need to maybe try and do a little push on that, because this is Fan Bingbing is possibly the only Chinese artist that you might have actress that you might have actually seen her name somewhere, because she got in trouble in China supposedly for tax evasion. But she's also been in Iron Man or the X-Men or something like that. You know, she's known in Hollywood and she's been all over the world. And then Snow Leopard is one that is filmed in Tibet, and so that's of interest to people who care about nature and wild and man's impact and interaction with the wild. So I'm helping promote that through Sustainable Keswick and other places. So that's actually a film, I think, in Tibetan. A lot of the films, because the ethos of the festival is that it's about women, and so most of the directors or producers or makers of the films are female, or the focus of the story is on females and women, and they are primarily younger as well. I think lots of the stories is, you know, so that means it may be slightly less accessible. But the biggest challenge is getting people to actually dip in and have a look, see what's available, and then choose a film to see. The opening gala is a silent 1927 film with live music, so nobody's going to really be attracted by a silent 1927 Chinese film, I suspect, but they might be attracted by the idea of having this wonderful, weird atmosphere of something that is very strange and alien to them, with live music playing with a big harp. Last year, I managed to shut the curtains on the harp, and luckily, Deborah Shaw saved it and didn't actually make it fall off the stage. This year, I will be a bit more careful, but you know, if people get the idea that we've got we've got some live music performance going along to a film, hopefully that will bring them along too. So we are bringing something here that is quite amazing. You wouldn't normally get it here. I do worry that the future of Mint may be elsewhere. You know, there's some big grant funding organizations. I can't remember the name of it, Yixiang, you can tell us, which has subsidized a few festivals to be based in London. And of course, you could get a much bigger audience there. But as long as we can keep it going here and make it break even, and as long as I can manage to get the films imported on my systems, you know, it's just wonderful that this is a festival that has started here and been born here. And I think what will happen is that Yixiang will probably take Mint on for the rest of her life and be organizing these, and it might happen in all sorts of places, but I will do it for as long as she wants to do it here. You know, she's already doing pop-up screenings in Berlin and Beijing and Amsterdam and wherever she goes in her career. But it's going to be something that has been born here, and its name being Mint will mean that, you know, it's got that little history of the fact that we met in Kendal, and that's where it all started from.
Can I share my website, or can you play the festival trailers, and then I'm gonna to share more information about our festival.
We'll line up the film and play that out. And just those last images before we play the film were of the Alhambra cinema, which was lovingly looked after, which has been lovingly looked after for many years, but it kind of was reborn. Was it 3-4 years ago, Carol, that you kind of reopened it, as it were?
Well, no, it's been 110 years. We just put in a second screen over COVID. So over COVID, I got a new business partner who came in with loads of energy and project management expertise, building expertise, and money. And he and I now half 50-50 owners and runners of this business. So he has helped sort of provide that transformation, and 2 screens, which means we can show a lot more films. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a member. It's a beautiful experience whenever I go there, and the coffee is always nice too. So I recommend it to anyone. Anyway, let's see this little trailer for the festival.
That's great.
Fantastic. Well, that puts a spring in your step. What a lovely selection, what an eclectic selection of different looking films there are on show as well. Just just to reiterate then, the two that you mentioned, Carol, EE, is that right? And also
Yeah.
Millennium Mambo.
Yeah.
And those are two at the start of the festival, are they?
No, EE is at the very end. It's on Sunday
Okay.
morning at 10 a.m. It's worth the trip though. Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Millennium Mambo is 7 p.m. on Thursday night, next Thursday the 1st.
Okay.
And then Snow Leopard is Friday night at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
We'll check.
I'm gonna put a link now to which has links direct to those few films.
Excellent.
But
Okay. And a lot of
EE,
love.
you must come and see.
A lot of love for your cinema, Carol, in chat. And you know, you're obviously following a passion. You obviously have probably been a film buff all your life, and you know, you've got this amazing venue now where you can share your love for films with other people, and to stride out and that lovely meeting, hence the Mint name, that has created this Chinese film festival with Shirley is just a beautiful story. So congratulations on making it happen. I hope it breaks even. What an amazing thing to sort of bring 150 Chinese students to Keswick to come and watch this as well. You know, that's just an extraordinary story in itself. I hope it stays in Cumbria. I hope it stays at the Alhambra, but you must go where needs must as far as making the success of the festival. But you know, these little jewels in the Cumbrian cultural crown we have to nurture, support, and then hang on to it if we possibly can. So thank you for making it happen. It's amazing, and good luck with it. And I shall definitely be aiming to come down to see something, no question. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for that, for telling us that. Kate, before we finish, I'm just looking at you to what? So next week, something's going on next week.
Well, next Friday, we've got some news to announce on behalf of the network, which is really, really exciting. So if you are an artist of any kind, any discipline, emerging artist or mid-career artist, there are opportunities coming. So tune in next week when we will give you all the details. And please bring your friends.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I can say. It's so exciting.
That is very exciting, and no doubt it will be teased over the days ahead, and then sort of a bit of a fanfare launch on Friday, and then obviously in other days of following and other avenues as well. But we thought we'd get it here first. Lovely. I'm hoping also. I bumped into Darren Henley from the Arts Council at this orchestra event in Barrow, and I'm hoping that I can get an interview with him for the podcast in about 10 days' time. So he's the chief exec of the Arts Council and a man of great influence who I guess Let's Create the Arts Council 10-year strategy was his brainchild. Obviously lots of consultation. So he's an interesting guy, a very nice guy as well. And I'm looking forward to hopefully sitting down with him, doing a bit of chat, getting it on tape and sticking it on the podcast probably next month. So that should hopefully happen too. Right. Anyone else for anything else? It's a beautiful day. Looks all right for the next couple of days.
Tom, can I just remind everybody that we've got fundraising training coming up in Kendal on the 31st. I'll put the links in chat, and we've also got a theatre and spoken words meetup, an online meetup coming up. That's towards the end of February, but I'll put the events link in chat.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much to Anna and to Carol and to Shirley. Two inspiring stories that just show what this county has within it when it puts its mind to it. Good luck with everything in those two projects. They're fantastic to hear about, and we're grateful to you for doing that this morning. Look forward to seeing you all next Friday. Have a nice week. Cheerio.